All right, so what I have here, and can you guys all see this? Can someone let me know that you can see this screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So here I have basically a rough outline of the page based on the requirements. So you need it sounds like you need a home page, an about page, a hospital list, and a DRG list, right? So if you go here, I've got a home page, I've got an about page, just nothing really on there. I've got this kind of basic hospital list. So in the instructions it says hospital name, state, and MPN. So I don't know if this is the MPN. I just used the provider ID from this, which I think is the number we're thinking of. It could be it might be this actually, which is, let's go to the top. Okay, so this is a 6-digit number. So none of these are, so I need to figure out a way to pad this, but that's something I can figure out later. So currently I have these ID numbers, right? So this is kind of like the basic table. I don't have anything on this MSR or MSDRG page yet because I didn't get around to that. So I'm just going to show you the structure that I have. And then we can kind of talk about each page itself. So here's my fuel directory. And inside of that, I have my app, classes, and then I have my, where is it? I've got my CT310 hospital controller. So what this is just controller CT310 hospital. It's got an index, home, about, action hospital, action MSDRG, and then I haven't done these detail pages yet. But what this would look like, there, and I'll show you for this one. Okay, so my index page, it just does a response redirect and sends it to home. So that way, if someone goes to here, so by the way, I have this running through my my public HTML right now because if I was streaming through my like through the VPN and through everything, this call would probably get really glitchy. So your pathing will be a little bit different. Yours will look something like this, right? And then you'll have the 444. But since this is on my public, I have it set up a little bit different. So basically, wherever your index file for your fuel is, right, and then your controller immediately afterwards. Now, if I just go like this, it'll index, which will redirect me to home. And then I have, obviously, my about page. So if you were to type in about after this, like that, then you'd see the about page. If you do hospitals, it takes you to this hospital table. And then same thing for MSDRG. So that's kind of what you have. Ooh, maybe it's something else. MSDRGs, plural. So that's what you have. Okay, so that's kind of this controller. So what we have here is basically, the architecture is a little confusing, but I have a method for each one of these things, right? So then I have, if you look over here, so I have that controller, and then I have some views. And in here I have my hospital views, and I have two things. I have components and pages. So pages are all my pages on my website, so my about, home, details, hospital list, MSDRG details, MSDRG list. And then I have some components. So I have my nav bar and I have my template. So you could just use the fuel templated views like we did in earlier labs, but because I actually have my fuel template set up for my own personal web page, I didn't want to mess with that, so I created a template component. And this is nothing special. These are just folders I created to organize these things. So if you look at this template, all it is the headers, the meta tags, sets a title if there is one. Then you have some style sheets for Bootstrap, and then some jQuery and Ajax stuff. And then down below, I have basically this, if there's main content basically passed to it, then echo this main content out. Otherwise, just do a no content found kind of echo. And then here I used the PHP include statement to echo out my navbar source. So if you look at my navbar, this is a Bootstrap base nav bar, but basically I've got a nav class with some styling and then some collapsible content, and then I used the URI base class and in order to resolve these paths so I didn't have to manually type out the whole thing. But other than that, this is pretty similar to what you have seen before. So all this really is something that I'm going to build upon. So what I'm going to do is, like, in any one of my controller actions, I'm going to create a view and set main content to that view. So whenever I want to load one of my pages in, this view will be loaded into where this main content is. So now if we go back to my controller, you can see, for example, the home page, I set my view. So like the response is I forge this view. So view forge, hospital views template. And then I pass that template a data array. So the title text will be home. So if I split this, can I split this? Hopefully my laptop's not being too loud. It's just like getting hot. So you can see I've got my basically main content here and my title text here. So I set title text to home, I set main content, and I forge a new view that's hospital views, pages, home, right? And for about, same thing, hospital views, pages, about. And then where it gets a little bit tricky is, so for this one, right, I set the main content to the hospital views, pages, hospital list view. But if you look at this hospital list view, it takes in some data. So then I have to pass data to that hospital list view on its own. So when I'm forging the hospital list, I pass it some hospital data. And where do I get this data? I get it from a model. So I have, up here I have my hospital model. So let's go ahead and open that up. So here's the hospital model. Currently it just has a get hospitals function. From there it queries the database. It selects provider name, state, and provider ID from the Medicare table. It limits it by the amount of limit and offsets by some number. So basically, if you were to query my table, select, if I didn't lose connection, which I might have. Basically, the limit and the offset just means, like, if the offset's 10, you start from the 10th row, and the limit is however many rows you want to return. So if it was limit 10, offset 10, start at 10 and get 10 rows. So the reason I'm doing this is because instead of loading in all 26,000 of these into one table, I'm going to load in like 50 at a time, right? I just haven't really built that functionality out, but it's good to have this set up in my model. Now, currently, so I know a lot of people struggled with getting this data file into their SQL database. So I'm going to show you the shortcut that I used. I just used this website called sequelizer.io. Whoop, not Slither. So I use this web page, and all this does is you literally just take an Excel spreadsheet. I got rid of like some of the comment headers at the top by just deleting them. I wrote down the provider DRG, and then I know like you could write something to parse it, but since I was lazy, I just did this, and then you could do 27,000 if you want. I just did 2,000 rows because I didn't want to take the time, and then you do that. And if you do this, what it will do is you click this convert. Oh, I gotta upload my file. Okay. So I use this sequelizer thing. It converts the whole file into a SQL file. It might take a while because it's pretty big. Now, obviously, there's other ways to do this. You could do load from CSV, which is a MySQL function. You could write a Python script to do it. You could do it with PHP if you wanted to. I just Googled a quick solution because I saw that this was a Microsoft Excel file, and I know that there's SQL file types, so I figured there's probably some method to do so. So you can only do up to 5,000 rows with this. So if you were clever, you would just do this like 5 times, right? So I guess that's where the rub is. That's why it works better for me. But if you're clever, I would just do this 5 times and just offset them. So like, let's go back. Let's take this, do like A1 to J 5000 or whatever. Right? Convert file. And then the next time you just do A5000 to J10,000, right? So you would have to do it like a few times. So it would be kind of a manual process, but honestly, in my mind, it would probably take you about 15-20 minutes versus writing a script or trying to get everything to work properly. It might take even longer, unless you're like a SQL master. But so it gives you this file, right? Create table if not exists, Medicare, right? All this stuff. So that looks like my bar will pull up. Okay. Looks like this. So let's go ahead and open that file. So it looks something like this, right? So it's a SQL file. It's very big. And then all I did was, my terminal is kind of slow, but let's exit. So I used a command that looked kind of like this. I did MySQL, user brand R, password, database, host var, and then I just piped this SQL file into it. Because all this file is, dang it, I closed it. All this file is a SQL command, right? So what you could do is in the subsequent ones, since you already have a Medicare table, as long as you keep the structure the same, you could comment out this top line, and then you could just insert the next 5,000 values and so on and so forth. I don't know how many rows are in my table currently. I think it is something along the lines of 2,000, I want to say. I can do select count star from, so I've got, yeah, 2,000 in there. So anyways, that's kind of how I got my stuff into the database, because I didn't want to deal with writing a script. So that's how I loaded it into my database, and as you can see, it worked out pretty well. The table worked out fine. So that's kind of what happened there. So I'm going to close out of Excel because that is just killing my CPU. Let's close out of Safari too. Try and lighten the load. All right, so now I got the data in the SQL database. I've got my model. So this model just, selects these items from the Medicare database like we did in our database lab. And then it returns this data to the controller. So the controller gets this hospital data back, and it just passes that hospital data to the hospital list view. So now if you look here, you can see basically for each row in the hospital list data, I'm going to create a new table row, and then for row as item, I'm going to create a new table data of that item. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't done this table sorter thing because I haven't figured out how to do that, but that's kind of what I was working on. But we can try and do that together if you guys want to. All right. So two point 1.7 latest version. Okay. So what? Oh, you got to download it. I guess that's okay, right? So download it. Does anyone have any questions before I start working on this table sorter thing? I'm not going to go through how to do everything, but I figure if you can do the hospital list, you could do the same thing with the MSDRG and stuff like that, right? Everything from the Excel file. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure, like, it's just this one data file, right? So I'm not sure what the MSDRGs are versus the hospital stuff, but hopefully this is helpful. So, okay, let's see. What was I doing? Oh yeah, so I'm gonna drop this file in. So remember, I'm running mine in public HTML because of I don't want to be on the VPN right now, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this. If I go like this, this thing, what does it look like? Oh my gosh. So,
Hey, Brant.
yeah.
So I have a quick question with the data.
Mm-hmm.
The DRG number, I asked that question and someone said that it's combined with a definition. So it's the first three numbers.
All right, let's look at this. Excel's so slow. All right. All right. Load. Just because it has. So you're saying that this provider ID gets combined with something else?
No, I think that I don't know. I asked the question in Piazza and someone said that the DRG number is combined with the description. So it's the first column.
So you're saying that this gets appended to it or prepended to it or something?
No, like they're combined. You see those first numbers that are there?
So you're saying that I'm confused.
They said that the number and the description are concatenated, so they're together. So we need to split it up and clean it.
They're concatenated? Are you sure? Because if these are separate rows in the XLS file, at least for me, unless you're talking about this first
I don't know.
column
I don't know. That's what they said. I just wasn't sure.
Oh, you're saying the MSDRG number is the first number in this column here? Oh, okay. So if we look at...
yeah.
Let's look MSDRG, see if we can find anything.
So it was I did adding data to the database, so that was where he said, or someone said that.
First line is just column heads. Secondly, the prices are not doubles but strings. And start with the $. The DRG number and description are concatenated and need to be split. As for insertion, okay. Yeah, so I'm not even, I wonder how this all loaded in to the database. So if I like select star or select average Medicare payments from Medicare, limit 100. So I think it might have converted some of these commas to, let's see, periods. So 1217631.31. No, it didn't actually. That's pretty surprising. It did kind of do some sort of floating point error though. I just wanted to get the thing up quickly, but you can see for the most part 164,459.68 cents. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, so I guess what you're saying is...
Well, I know on the website there's instead of using the Excel version, there's a CSV version of it.
Yeah, the reason I use the Excel version is because I was able to do that conversion, right? I was able to use that online converter, and that was pretty much my motivation for doing that. All right, let's look at this definition. So you're saying this needs to be split.
I don't know. I was asking. I'm unsure.
I honestly don't know either. DRG. Okay. Let's see if this Piazza post has any info on it. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it must be because there's nothing else, right? So this one, what I would do, honestly, because I'm lazy, is in my model, I would do something like something like this, and then I would run a query that looks like that. All right, so I get the data as an array, and then I would do something like this, an array like that, and then for each data as row, so get each row in this return data set, take the, so this is going to be DRG description, right, or definition, and then what do you need in the DRG page? You need DRG number and description of each DRG in the data set. It can be filtered or sorted by these columns. So you just need this DRG definition. And then what you can do is like, you do row, DRG definition. And there's no string split in PHP, it's called explode. So you do this, split on this, and then, so you have your string splits, and then I would just basically take my to return, and I would say DRG number is trim of the first split item, and then do something like this. So let's see if this works. Okay, so basically what I did is I just pulled the definitions and then I just used a little bit of PHP code to basically iterate through the array that's returned, split the strings on a hash or on a dash, trim off the spaces, and then set them into a new array and return that. So now if I go in here, in my controller, what I'll do is I'm just going to copy this. Actually, I'm just going to copy this line. So we have that. Now we get DRGs. Okay, and then I'm just going to do debug, dump, and I guess we should change this to DRG data, like that. All right, let's try this. So I'm hoping that it'll still do the debug. Undefined offset. So let's go ahead and do debug here. So I gotta wait for it to upload because my thing is slow. Okay. People dropping in and out of the call. So it does not like that offset, so I'm gonna go ahead and comment these out. Okay. So let's go ahead and spin this up, see if it, okay. So this is good, right? Maybe I have these backwards. There we go. And now I just need to do this. All right. So let's see how this runs. Okay. Run it again. All right. So now I guess we need to so it's overwriting them, right? So now I need to think about, this is really an array of arrays, right? So I'll do this, and then I'll just do toReturn, and I'll just append that new row. This is kind of hacky, but it should work. So like in theory, you could adjust your database, right? Like you could, when you're processing it, you could split them. Or you could take the database as you have it and do database update columns. Like there's some SQL command where you can do that. I just don't know how. So you would like select description, and then there's a SQL thing to split, and then you would do update. But it would almost be easier just to do it this way. That's why I'm just being lazy about it, because it's like 5 seconds of PHP code versus modifying the whole database. So there we go. Now this is interesting because this isn't really useful, because you can see that so this is where the rub is. So this is something you guys, I don't know how to solve this problem, but I'll explain to you what's happening. So maybe you do need another column, because look, right? You have these 001, 001, right? What you could do is you can select distinct, which means only select unique items. Or I have to think about how this is structured. I think it's like this. All right, so see this? For the most part, it's okay, right? Because I haven't had any repeat numbers yet. But at some point, you'll probably see a repeat. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what a DRG number is, so so let's reload this. So what I'm saying is, because right, we want each of these DRG numbers to be their own thing, right? Kind of, I would presume. So you kind of want something like that, right? And then when you click on this number or whatever, like you make it a link, and then that'll redirect you to whatever page, right? So like if we go into our stuff, sorry, almost said something inappropriate. App, classes, views. So if we want to do this DRG view, hospital views, pages, MSDRG list, okay? So I'm just going to kind of steal this hospital list code, paste it. Okay. DRG table. This table head dark, all this stuff is bootstrap stuff to just so that I don't have to write styling. DRG number and description, and now it's pretty much the same other than that, right? So I think I can just go in here. Take this, I'll get rid of these debugs since I don't need them anymore. Change the name of this so it's the MSDRG list page. And I guess we'll do a debug dump on this just to see if the data comes out right. So let's see how this works. Doesn't like the trailing comma. Wait for it to update. Ah, that's what it was. There's two $signs there. All right, so let's see how this goes. Gotta rename that variable. Wait for it to upload. Okay. So then I will try and post this video tonight. So if you guys want to watch it again or you're confused, there we go. See, look. So now we have this, right? So that's sick. Now the we want to make these into links, right? So what I would do is like realistically, what I'd have to do is something along the lines of, so for this DRG thing, it would be pretty trivial. I could just hard code it, which probably isn't the best way to do it, but it's one way to do it. So there's probably some sort of array split or trim method in PHP. I just don't know off the top of my head. So I'm just going to show you the kind of theory behind it. So I would do something like this: ahref equals, okay. So I've got my table data, right? In between will be our row DRG number. Right, is that what it's DRG number? Yeah, okay. And then what this will be right here will be I'm just going to create a variable called L, and this L is going to be URI base concatenated with index.php /CT310 hospital / MSDRG underscore details / and then we'll do the $row DRG number. So this link will come out looking something like 001, let's say, okay? So this is where you're going to end up needing to have, like, probably you're going to need to split this up and somehow create a DRG number column, which off the top of my head, I'm not very much of a SQL master, so I don't know how to do that, but I guess we could probably Google it, right? I just don't want to mess my database up, but it's okay, we'll try it. Okay, so first of all, let's see if we can copy this query, right? Oh gosh, so slow. All right, well, while I'm waiting for that to respond, let's finish this. So we've got our DRG number, table row stuff. I'm gonna put a new line so it looks nice. Okay. And then this one is just gonna be the same thing, but this time there's no link, so we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. And then this is just DRG description. The definition, I guess. My computer is super slow because I'm running like 1,000 programs right now. Okay. It's also because I've got CyberDuck, Word going, Excel, which I should probably close out of. Then I'm streaming this, so my bandwidth is just not good. Okay. So let's see how this goes while we're playing around with the database.